Hi there! Welcome back to TPRA's Third-Party Risk Management 101 series, a guide for creating and enhancing your third-party risk management program. New to the series? Be sure to check out our previous videos to catch up. These videos will help you better understand the foundations of building a comprehensive third-party risk management program. For our fourth episode of the TPRM 101 series, we will be discussing pre-contract due diligence, the second phase of the TPRM lifecycle. This phase will be explored in a two-part video series. The pre-contract due diligence phase allows organizations to thoroughly assess and mitigate potential third-party risk before committing via a legal binding contract. By conducting thorough pre-contract due diligence, organizations can minimize potential risks, avoid legal and reputational issues, and foster a more successful and secure partnership with the third party. It allows for better decision-making and provides a solid foundation for a productive and compliant business relationship. This phase also informs contracting efforts, as well as sets the tone for continuous monitoring activities. In these two videos, we will discuss the below activities associated with pre-contract due diligence. Section 1, Third-Party Profile. Section 2, Inherent Risk Questionnaire. Section 3, Risk-Based Assessments. Section 4, Risk Identification. Section 5, Risk Remediation. Section 6, Risk Escalation and/or Acceptance. And Section 7, Reporting on Residual Risk. Part 1 will cover the third-party profile, inherent risk questionnaire, and risk-based assessments, while Part 2 will cover risk identification, remediation, escalation, and acceptance, as well as reporting on residual risk. Section 1, Third-Party Profile. To assist with the management of business relationships, it is best practice to create a comprehensive third-party profile. This then feeds your inherent risk questionnaire, due diligence efforts, and contractual requirements. The specific details included in the profile may vary depending on the organization's needs and the nature of the third-party relationship. However, a typical third-party profile may include, but not be limited to, basic information, relationship owners, financial information, reputation and track record, legal and regulatory compliance, risk assessment, data sent, hosted, transferred, assessed, and manipulated, contractual obligations, business continuity and disaster recovery, quality management, ethical and social responsibility, insurance coverage, findings and follow-up, and recommendations and re-reviews. Additional details can be added to the third party's profile depending on other regulatory guidance and/or your own organization's strategic and risk management requirements. It's essential to keep the third-party profile up to date and conduct regular reviews to ensure that the information remains accurate and relevant. This comprehensive profile will help the organization make informed decisions, manage risks, and establish effective relationships with its external partners. Section 2, Inherent Risk Questionnaire. Before performing due diligence on a third party, an organization must first determine the level of risk the third party poses to the organization. This assists with determining the level of due diligence necessary for said third party. An inherent risk assessment is a process that involves identifying and evaluating the risks associated with a particular activity, process, or business relationship, prior to the evaluation of controls in place. It focuses on understanding the risks that are inherent or naturally present in any given relationship. This ensures an organization performs sufficient due diligence commensurate with the inherent risks identified. It also ensures appropriate contract clauses based on risks are inserted into the agreement. The inherent risk assessment can also assist with tiering your third parties into risk categories. to ensure continuous monitoring efforts are prioritized appropriately. Inherent risk is usually calculated during the request for proposal process in order to determine what pre-contract due diligence activities are needed. If you are just creating your TPRM program, once you inventory your third parties, the next step is to run all third parties through your inherent risk questionnaire to determine their potential impact to your organization or critically tier. An inherent risk questionnaire, or IRQ, is a tool used by organizations to evaluate potential impacts a third party could pose to an organization, given the responses to a set number of questions, and prior to the evaluation of controls in place. By collecting detailed information through the questionnaire, organizations can identify potential risks associated with third-party engagements and make informed decisions about risk evaluation and mitigation strategies. You will also want to recertify your inherent risk questionnaire each time you assess your third party, and on an ongoing basis, to ensure it is kept up to date. Relationships with third parties can change over time, as can how we leverage their products or services. Therefore, it is important to reevaluate the inherent risk questionnaire on a regular basis, at least annually. The IRQ should only have between 8 and 15 questions, as it is not meant to be an in-depth assessment of controls. It is merely an initial assessment of the impact a third party could have on your organization. The questionnaire is usually completed by a leader of the team who will be leveraging the third-party product or service, in facilitation of the TPRM practitioner. The business is able to ask the third party specific questions as it relates to the IRQ to assist with answering the assessment. However, it is not recommended the IRQ be sent to the third party directly. If there are questions the business cannot answer, as the information is not yet known, then the responses should take into account how products or services may be leveraged at the optimal capacity in order to assess the worst-case scenario. Not noting potential risk at the highest level could delay due diligence efforts once they begin. Each question within the IRQ is weighted and should be in line with your organization's risk appetite. For example, if the security of confidential data is important to your organization, then the questions around data should carry higher weight. Therefore, if a third party is deemed to potentially house and/or access confidential data, then that third party would have higher inherent risk rating than that of a third party that will not require access to confidential data. Overall, performing an inherent risk assessment for all third parties helps organizations proactively identify, evaluate, and manage the risks and impacts third parties could pose to an organization. It supports informed decision-making, effective risk mitigation strategies, and ongoing monitoring to protect the organization's interests. Section 3. Risk-based assessments. Once an IRQ is completed, the level of inherent risk noted, as well as the products and services provided, should drive due diligence activities. These activities allow the organization to determine the level of residual risk present after specific controls have been assessed. Organizations should assess residual risk to effectively identify, measure, monitor, and mitigate third-party risk. It is why TPRM programs exist. Without measuring residual risk, an organization cannot consistently or meaningfully understand and mitigate risks related to the third party. Failure to appropriately measure and manage this risk can cause organizations to face scrutiny from their regulators, subject them to fines and other legal repercussions, or cause major reputational or financial risk. Residual risk is measured during the pre-contract and post-contract or continuous monitoring phases. It should not be assessed once per year, but instead assessed throughout the year using a variety of risk-based mechanisms. This ensures your organization maintains a comprehensive view of their third-party risk landscape and can proactively mitigate risk that is identified. It is important for organizations to take a risk-based approach to assessing their third parties. This allows organizations to focus on critical areas where potential risks are higher. This targeted assessment strategy ensures that important risks are addressed first, reducing the likelihood of significant disruptions or security breaches. It also ensures organizations allocate their limited resources more effectively. High-risk third parties can receive more extensive and frequent assessments, while lower-risk organizations can undergo less rigorous evaluations, saving time and effort. There are a variety of assessments that can be performed for a third party. For each assessment, it is important to consider several aspects of the third party's controls environment, including governance mechanisms, effectiveness of controls, and risk management strategies. Assessments should include a comprehensive evaluation of the third party, and not be a check-the-box activity. This, in turn, helps make informed decisions about whether to engage with a third party, how to manage the relationship, and what risk mitigation measures are necessary to protect the organization's interest. There are many assessments that can be performed for a third party, but we'll go over some of the most common. Cybersecurity or information security assessment. Evaluate the security posture and practices of a third party that handles sensitive data and/or provides technical products or services. Cloud security assessment. Assessing a cloud environment is a cybersecurity/information security assessment. However, it takes into account the shared responsibilities model. Operational resiliency assessment. This involves evaluating the ability of a third party to maintain continuous operations and recover from disruptive incidents or events that may impact its business functions. Financial assessment. This evaluates the financial stability and viability of a third party to ensure they can fulfill their contractual obligations and remain a reliable partner. Operational or strategic risk assessment. This assessment aims to identify and understand the operational and strategic risks that could impact your organization's objectives, operations, reputation, and overall success when relying on the services or products of a third party. Reputational risk questionnaire. This involves evaluating the potential risks to your organization's reputation that may arise from its association with the external party. Offshore assessment. If applicable, this assessment evaluates a specific third-party offshore location to ensure its security, compliance, and overall reliability of services. Privacy assessment. This evaluates how the third party handles and protects sensitive data, ensuring compliance with data protection regulations. Compliance assessment. This verifies that the third party complies with relevant laws, regulations, and industry standards applicable to their operations. It also ensures compliance with contractual obligations. Third-party risk management program assessment and nth-party reviews. By conducting a thorough review of a third party's material subcontractors, your organization can gain insights into the extended supply chain risks and make informed decisions about engaging with a third party. Contract assessment. Review the third party's contractual obligations to ensure they are meeting their commitments and adhere to service level agreements. Insurance assessment. This involves evaluating the insurance coverage and policies held by the third party to ensure they have adequate coverage to mitigate potential risks and liabilities. Environmental social governance assessment. This involves evaluating various factors related to the environment, social, and governance practices of an entity. These assessments are typically performed to determine the sustainability and ethical performance of a third party. On-site visits. On-site visits provide a direct and first-hand understanding of the third party's operations, practices, and compliance with various standards. The above assessments should not be performed for every third party. Your organization should adopt a risk-based approach to assessments and ensure due diligence efforts are driven off of the IRQ assessment to ensure continuity of processes, resources are allocated appropriately, and attention is given to higher-risk third parties. Assessments should include a combination of questionnaires and controls testing. While questionnaires can provide you with information about a third party's processes, they do not always show what is actually happening within a given process. Organizations might provide optimistic or generalized responses that do not align with their actual practices. Therefore, relying solely on questionnaires can leave gaps in understanding. One tip for determining which assessments to perform for specific third parties is to tie assessments to each question within the inherent risk questionnaire. As an example, your organization determines the information security assessment will be triggered if the business responds in the affirmative within the IRQ, that the third party will house confidential data. As another example, the compliance risk assessment will be triggered if the business responds in the affirmative that the third party presents regulatory risk to your organization. As part of your assessments, it is important to request evidence to validate specific controls are operating effectively. This approach allows you to go beyond surface-level answers and actually observe whether the controls are operating as intended. The combination of questionnaires and controls testing offers a more holistic view of the third party's processes and controls. Evidence you can request or review includes, but should not be limited to, the following: a risk-based approach to assessing third parties enables organizations to be more strategic, efficient, and effective in managing third-party risks. It aligns the assessment process with the organization's priorities, maximizes the use of resources, and helps maintain a secure and resilient business environment. This concludes our video on the first part of the pre-contract due diligence phase. We hope you found this episode of TPRM 101 beneficial and informative. Check back soon for Pre-Contract Due Diligence Part 2 in the coming weeks. If you enjoyed this video, remember to drop a like and a comment below and subscribe to the TPRA YouTube channel to be notified of newly released videos on TPRM topics. Follow our socials to stay up to date on what's going on at the TPRA. Join TPRA as a practitioner member to gain access to TPRM tools, templates, and events. Standard practitioner membership is free, so what are you waiting for? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on TPRM 101.